Hello, ladies. I am Elif Köse, and this is Confidence Leads to Success. Yet another inspirational story about to merge here, and I'm so excited to have my next guest, Fiona Myles, with me. I have happened to found her through one of my Facebook groups that I'm a member of. And as you know, I like bringing stories that will inspire us and give us inside information of everything in life. So today I've got Fiona Myles with me. She is a creator of adoption designs. We'll come back to that. And she's a published author of 2 books around adoption. Fiona aims to help adoptees to realize their full potential, to enable them to get up from crippling fears and confidence issues stemming from feeling like they don't fit in. And she runs an adoption confidence building mentorship programs to help them. And I feel this is such an important mission to have because sometimes you can feel that you don't belong, and having somebody next to you who understands your feelings, it is so good. So hi, Fiona, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It is so good to have you here, and we're excited to have you, and we would like to hear more about what does adoption design mean?
Well, adoption designs really, it's something that I've created so that I can make statement wear for adoptees because, with my own story of coming through all the adoption trauma and everything and being in a place where I had little or no confidence to being in a place now where I'm really quite happy to make that statement that yes, I am a little different because I'm adopted. So my adoption designs sort of focus on, this is me, I'm adopted, or warning, I'm adopted, just little quirky sayings that, can let people know that, yeah, you are adopted. So, that's possible that
Why
somebody.
do you think that that you need to make that statement to differentiate yourself that you are adopted? Do you think there is in the society a place where people need to know the difference between adopted or a biological child with living with the families?
I think what happens is, or what happened in my case was, coming through life, I was adopted into a family where my 2 siblings were their children and I was in the middle. So it was always kind of pointed out that I was different, because I didn't look like them, I didn't behave like them, I didn't look like my mum and dad.
It wasn't so much about the parents, it was so much outsiders' point, was it?
Yes, yes, yeah, yeah. People would actually, I actually had one visitor that came to visit my mum and dad, and they sort of said, "Oh, doesn't your daughter look like you? And doesn't your son look like you?" And then they pointed to me in the middle and said, "And does she belong to the postman?" Thinking it was really funny, like a joke. But for me, being a little adoptee who was struggling to come to terms with being
Okay.
adopted, it was just crippling.
Yeah, I hear you. I really hear you. It's funny you say that because I have actually made a mistake one day in a conversation with a couple I knew from the village I live. We went for a Sunday lunch once. I'd like to share this story as it came. I didn't actually think of it till this moment. Funny. And they had their beautiful daughter with them. And she used to always pop in to see me in my boutique. And in the conversation, I said, she doesn't look like you both at all. Who does she look like? I said. And that's when they said to me, well, she's actually adopted. And I felt really bad. But I didn't mean it that way. Like I just didn't mean it that way. But then I felt I can see what you mean. And I just felt really bad. And I thought, why does it matter if they look like that? But they didn't mind sharing that she is adopted and she didn't mind being adopted, but it might have made her feel, you
Mm,
know,
yeah.
crippling.
It might have, I mean, as a child, it certainly didn't have a good effect on me, that kind of statement being made, albeit in jest by the person, not meant to hurt anybody, but because he didn't know I was adopted, and I feel like, my family should have maybe made their friends aware that I was adopted. So they didn't say anything, you know,
It's that
difficult.
sensitivity, isn't it? The using the right words. I think sometimes when without knowing, with no bad intentions, sometimes people have these conversations, like even if it's only around your weight, if it might be around your hair color, it might be around your skin color. People seem to make these conversations, to have conversations without thinking what kind of an emotional effect that may have on somebody.
Yeah, yeah. And as far as confidence is concerned, my confidence was knocked all the way through, my growing up stage, because I had no confidence in who I was for a start, because I was adopted. And then when it was pointed out later on in life as well, as a teenager, again, you're kind of thrown to the back of the confidence pile, because you just feel like you don't fit in, nobody wants to know you because you're different. And it's an emotional minefield, really.
It must be. It is so fascinating. So how one can how I mean I can see the children who've been adopted by families. I have got so many friends who have adopted children, and I never knew they were adopted because they love them so much. Um, but for outsiders, for us, for me, how could we make a difference in our reactions and conversations to not make people the way you felt and affect their confidence?
Mm. I think it's just really being aware that that child is adopted. If you know the child is adopted, obviously it's more helpful, because then you can
Yeah.
sort of
I
move away
didn't know.
from some of the cliched stuff, like, oh, you don't look like your parents and stuff like that. But if you do know that the children are adopted, then you're probably going to be more aware of not falling into that minefield. I think for my own particular story, I was brought up in the 60s and 70s, where a lot of the social service intervention wasn't there. Whereas today, a lot of children now, they get letterbox contact, they get family contact, they get more information about who they are, where they've come from, which goes a long way to settling them,
Yeah.
emotionally, and in their identity as well. So their confidence, isn't, hit so hard by that complete unknown identity thing. So I think it's us older
So true.
adoptees that feel the real struggle.
How do you think someone can build confidence not knowing their heritage and not knowing where they come from? It is such an important point you just made there, because I I mean my interview series called Confidence Leads to Success, and I can see the way you're confident now, which made you successful, but it I can see that's why you started your mentorship programs, to help people to build that. What can one do to actually build their confidence?
I think, what for my own story, for me, I veered off as a very young girl into drug addiction and alcohol addiction. Got myself into an awful amount of very difficult circumstances that caused me a lot of trauma on top of my adoption trauma. And then I came out of that, and at my story, I came out of that into a place of faith. So I became a Christian, and then I began to build a balance again of emotional, and an all-round well-being. And then I began to emerge as the person I am from that. And I realized I'm actually a really talented person. I've actually got a lot of creativity. I have a lot to give. I'm a very caring person, a loving person. And all of that was kind of hidden, buried under, a mound of trauma and traumatic emotions that I wasn't able to deal with as a young person. So, it's coming out of that, and then and realizing that you do have a lot to give.
That is lovely. It's lovely. I think what happens is we forget to actually go within ourselves when it comes to finding the inspiration and finding the solution. Is sometimes it's really actually just nicely hidden within us, in our heart, in our souls. And if you could just give yourself that value, if you could just give yourself
Yes.
the opportunity to find you, you're
Yes.
actually beautiful.
Yes, absolutely. And we all have dreams, regardless of what situation you're in, or what trauma you've suffered, or life circumstances, within us all there is a dream. We all have a dream. We all have something we want to pour out, you know, and happen. And for me, that dream, you know, has always been to help other adoptees, to help them to get over, you know, the feelings that they're feeling, because we're kind of in a position where, because we've been adopted, and I was adopted into the most wonderful family. I had a wonderful parents and wonderful brother and sister. It was me that had the problem. And I always felt like I needed to be grateful and, you know, not make a fuss, you know, about what I was feeling, because why should I be out there giving it all rage and angst and whatever, when I should be very grateful that this family took me in, you know, so that you have the two sort of raging sets of emotions. And
I
because
think it's a choice, isn't it? It's life is all about choices we make. We all have. I've never met anyone who hasn't been through adversity, had problems, had trauma, but it's a choice of how you want to live with it and deal with it. And I can see that you were courageous enough to give yourself a chance to actually look at the positive side of everything.
yeah,
And just, I think, having the courage to find that gift
yes,
within you.
and stepping out in it, you know, and getting the right people around you, you know, and building up that inner person, that inner creativity, and building on that confidence so that you can launch yourself out there. Because regardless of how shy or introverted or whatever it is you are, that creativity is there, and you just need to let it out in whatever way suits you.
What was your first, what was that first date, or what? I don't know if you remember. I know this is never, it's like a one light bulb moment happens and you suddenly change your life over, and it's usually a cumulative feelings. But what was that first feeling you can recall that made you realize that you've got more to give?
I think really just coming to that point of understanding that, okay, that all happened to you, but let's turn this round for good. Let's just turn this around. You can wallow all over there, as long as you like, in your trauma, in your fear, in your confusion. But is that helping anybody? No, it isn't. So get yourself up and start using what's happened to you to bring other people into a good, safe space.
Oh, makes me emotional. It's so beautiful. It is so true. It's like we all have problems, like you say. I mean, even in the day, like today, just now, I was going to, I mean, I'm at home right now, ladies, doing my interview, and it's supposed to be from my boutique. But the internet connections was playing up, and I just decided to come here. So I could have just cancelled and see the problem. I could see, oh, there's a problem. There's no internet. I have to cancel and just give myself aggravation for nothing. It's a choice, really.
Yeah. I totally get you, because my daughter has hidden my makeup and I couldn't find it. And I was like, oh no, I'm going to have to sit on here with no makeup on. It was like, so you're beautiful without makeup anyway. So
Exactly. I was going to ask you, that was going to be my next question. Do you have family of your own now?
Well, I have, which is a story in itself, and this is why the books have been written. I have one daughter who is 6. My daughter is my great niece from the family I was adopted out of. It's an absolutely unique story, you know, and having her really brought home to me that urge, that desire to get adopted people on the radar of making sure that you're growing up with confidence, because I want this lovely little girl to grow up with the confidence I never had growing up, you know. And so she knows she's not ours, but she knows exactly where she came from, because I'm able to tell her, and I am actually her blood relative, even though I was adopted out of that family. It's the most incredible story.
Oh, I love that. Tell us a little bit.
Well, it's one of those stories where it's very much, in the beginning, it's very much faith-based, because I've never been able to have children. part and parcel of the beginnings of my teenage years. I was involved in drugs and alcohol, as I've said, and prostitution, and I was badly beaten up, and I lost a little boy that I didn't even know I was pregnant with, and I've never been able to fall pregnant from that day to this. So I'd always wanted children, never been able to have them. I went to a Christian conference, and I was told there, I believe by God, that I would have a child at 50. So I was like, how on earth is this going to happen? But long story short, this wonderful little child was placed in our care 6 weeks before I was 51. So, that promise came to pass, and she's actually flesh of my flesh and bone of my bone. And she has red hair to match my husband, which is incredible as well. So nobody would know that she's adopted looking at her, because she looks like me. She has my cheeky little face, and she has his red hair. So it's been an amazing journey with her. And
how old is she now?
She's 6 now.
How wonderful. How wonderful. Fiona, it makes my heart sing to see people like yourselves out there. You could have made the choice in your life, because you have been through adversity and trauma and all that problems in your life. You could have been full of anger and be angry with world and be aggressive, be horrible, be nasty, but you choose to turn that darkness, a bit like a Lotus Sutra. You choose to just blossom in your work, in your life, and actually being light to other people's life. It is just so inspiring. Thank you. It actually made me very emotional.
Thank you.
It is lovely to see people, and it's so good to see that you are actually helping other adoptees to come out of that and see the positive and be the light and beacon light to other people's life.
Yeah. I think one light can touch another, and that light can continue on. And all of my stories documented in my book, No Darkness Too Deep. So
I am going to share all the information about you and your books on the show notes, so people get to know you more and get to contact you. If anybody, ladies, if you're listening, if you know anybody or if you are one that needs help with these, Fiona would love to help you, wouldn't you, Fiona?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
It is so good, and I'm so happy that our paths crossed, and I managed to have you on my interview series.
Thank you. It's been lovely.
Thank you so much. Is there anything that I forgot to ask you that people need to know about you?
No, not really. I'm just happy to help. I have a confidence that I can share. I have a past that I can share. I can tell you how I managed to get from A to B, to where I am now. And I can also help you to get a lot further than I am. I'm very good at encouraging and signposting and helping people to go further than I've ever been, as well. That's something that's very close to my heart, is just being that foundational step for other women to go and reach their full potential, because I know what my dream is. I know what my ambition is, and that is to see others rise way above wherever I am at the moment.
I love it. It is so good. My last question before I let you go and continue inspiring and helping others is, what does confidence mean to you?
I would say confidence means to me being able to step out and do the things that you want to do, and being able, to connect with people and confidently tell people, what your passion is. And confidence in knowing what your passion is helps you to be confident in passing that passion on.
I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you, Fiona. It has been a great honor to have you. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did.
I did. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's been lovely.
Thank you. Ladies, thanks for joining in to our interview. And I will continue to do this, to share my stories and stories of other inspirational, courageous leaders to enlighten the world and be the light for everyone. Thank you for joining, and I will see you on the next episode. Thank you.